Okay, let's dive right into this one. Picture this, a nail-biter of a baseball game, and it's all coming down to the final inning. Anyone who loves sports knows this feeling.
So yeah, it's the bottom of the ninth. The home team, the Sox, they're barely clinging to a 1-point lead. But their pitcher is just getting shelled. The bases are loaded now, and one more hit, just one, and the game is lost. The tension is just wow.
And watching all this on TV is our main guy, David, and he is just screaming at the screen. He knows exactly who they need to bring in. The best closer in the history of the game, the legend, Andrew Martin.
And would you believe it? The coach pulls the pitcher. The whole crowd just erupts because jogging out from the bullpen is the old pro himself, Andrew Martin. He gets on the mound and throws that famous knuckleball. 3 pitches, they just kind of flutter in. 3 swings, 3 misses. Game over. The Sox win.
David is just electric after that win, completely inspired. He runs to his family and tells them all about this baseball camp for pitchers happening over the summer. He's decided. He's going. And he is going to be the next great knuckleballer.
But later that evening, his dad comes out to the backyard, and you can just tell he has to deliver some bad news. Turns out, that camp is way too expensive. And just like that, David's heart sinks. He's so upset he just throws his baseball glove right into the dirt.
So there's David, just sulking in a lawn chair, when his great aunt, Auntie Ling, comes outside. She sees how down he is about what he's calling the worst news ever, and she decides to tell him this old Taoist parable, all about a farmer and his horse.
And she starts the story with this really simple but kind of deep question. Good news, bad news. Who can say?
So here's how it goes. First, an old man's only horse runs away. All the neighbors say, "Oh, what terrible news." But then the horse comes back, and it brings a whole herd of wild stallions with it. Suddenly, it's great news. Well, the next day, the man's son tries to tame one of the stallions, falls and breaks his arm. Awful news, right? But then, a week later, a warlord comes through and forces every single able-bodied young man into his army. An army that gets completely wiped out later. But the son, because of his broken arm, gets left behind, and he survives.
Well, the story doesn't exactly make David feel any better. So the next day, his dad comes up with a more, practical idea. A summer job. The job is delivering newspapers on his bike. And get this, the route goes right down Main Street, past the very ballpark where the Sox practice. The pay? $20 a day. Yeah, it's going to take him the entire summer to save up for camp, but it's a start.
At the end of his first week, David's holding his first paycheck. He's exhausted, he's sweaty, but he is just so thrilled. He asks his aunt if this counts as good news. She just smiles and tells him, "When things are good, be happy. Never hold in a smile. That's like putting a butterfly in a jar."
Okay, so the next day, David wakes up, and there is this huge rainstorm. It's just pouring down all day. But hey, the papers have to be delivered, so he puts on a raincoat and just heads out into it.
He's speeding down Main Street, weaving through these massive puddles. As he gets near the ballpark, he slows down a little, trying to peek over the fence to see if any players are inside, even though he knows they're on a break. And because he's distracted, he completely misses a glass bottle floating in the water. His bike goes right over it. You hear this crash, the bottle shatters, and his front tire's just torn to pieces. The bike lurches, and it sends him flying into a puddle on someone's perfectly green lawn.
So now he's soaked, his knee is scraped, his bike's front rim is all bent, and David is just seeing red. He's so mad he actually kicks his bike, ready to just give up. But then, this line from a silly little song his auntie used to sing pops into his head. Don't be mad at every stumble, or you'll surely lose your way. He just takes a deep breath, and he starts to calm down.
Now that he's a bit calmer, he realizes the bike isn't a total goner. His dad can probably fix it. The rain has stopped, so he picks up his bike and just starts walking the rest of his route.
He gets to this house that's set way back from the street, down this really long driveway. Instead of walking all the way down there, he thinks, let's have some fun. He winds up like he's on a pitcher's mound and just fires the newspaper like a fastball. It flies through the air and, thump, lands right against the front door.
And all of a sudden, a voice calls out from the porch. David looks up and sees this tall, lanky man walking down the driveway, a hat pulled down low. David's first thought is just run. But the man just says, "Hey, take it easy, kid. No harm done." And then he takes off his hat.
David cannot believe it. It's his hero. It's Andrew Martin.
David is just struck. He's so shocked and excited that he just starts talking, and the whole story comes tumbling out about wanting to go to the camp, not having the money, the paper route, the flat tire, just everything. He can't stop himself.
Mr. Martin just listens to the whole thing really patiently. And then he tells him that the camp he wanted to go to, well, that's really just for beginners. For a kid with an arm like his, he says, David would be way better off in his own, much more advanced class. He hands David a piece of paper with the class information and his personal phone number. When David asks how much this class costs, Martin just smiles and tells him not to worry about that. Whatever it is, he says, we'll get you in. And then he tells him to keep up the good work on that paper route. So a few minutes later, there's David, walking his broken bike home, and he's clutching this little piece of paper like it's the most valuable thing in the world. He thinks about what his auntie said about not holding in a smile, and he lets his own smile get so big that his cheeks actually start to hurt. And really, it just goes to show you, sometimes what feels like the worst news ever can end up being the very best.